Aitah for having an emotional affair while my ex faked her personality? TLDR, my ex stole my personality and I had an emotional affair. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. Hi everyone, this is quite a long story, so be prepared. Once I 22M had a girlfriend 22F whom I will call Emily. We met in the later part of 2021 due to some friends I had in common with her and we almost clicked instantly. It was really refreshing to get to know her because in that period I had just been out of a relationship about a month with a girl I previously had a relationship with. It was difficult and stressing and I probably got some form of PTSD which I, luckily, managed to cope with. Fast forward some months, we are dating, it is December and we officially get engaged. Everything seemed great at first but there were some problems, which I stupidly ignored. My ex had issues with showing negative emotions, particularly with crying, since she had grown up into a religious household. Just to give you an example, she felt really ashamed when I saw her crying, even if I would let her cry on me and kiss her thereafter. The real problem though was showing affection. We both had awful relationships and she told me she was scared that I would leave her because she'd have been too clingy, and for another read-on I will discuss later. We, in the span of some months, kissed only a few times and almost never held hands. She would never tell me good night morning and at that age it was a big deal. We are young, if not now be a lovey-dovey couple then when? She was cold. I started feeling really bad because it was a relationship but there was no affection, we were friends. Therefore I had decided to leave her and I texted her a really long message, wherein I explained carefully my point of view. I have to admit that I felt nothing that last days I was with her. At that time I talked about it with some friends, whom I will call them Eric and Rose. I told them about the breakup and they helped me. At the time I felt nothing for her. I do not know if it was some sort of coping mechanism, but it probably is. Remember how I mentioned before a toxic relationship I had? Basically I was with someone who tackled all the spots for narcissistic abuse, love bombing, carving my name on her skin. I had to stop a attempt to. I had to endure all this, and after all the manipulation and gaslight she felt like a bright light before me. My previous ex, the narcissistic one, or to be more precise she exhibit every BPD symptom, I will call her Amanda. So, fast forward into the breakup with Emily, everything was going fine, or at least it appeared to be like this. We remained in contact after the breakup for some time but gradually stopped talking. At some point I had decided I would remove her from my friends list on my socials and so I did. She was doing bad, I was doing bad too because I felt always empty. The relationship I had was unfulfilling and yes, I recognize I should have talked to her about this, my state of mind wasn't that good. That said, I do not wish to justify myself. I wronged and I'm aware of it. After about 12 months after the breakup I started talking with a girl through socials. I was desperate for someone or something, whatever that could be, to fill the void I was being consumed by. That time was terrible. I wanted to talk to this girl obsessively and no say did not resemble my ex in the slightest. I do not know why I was obsessed with her. I was crazy then, really crazy. That said, after some time I realized what the heck I was doping and stopped talking to her. About some weeks later I discovered my ex was now posting TikToks and photos of her. I did not take it well. I realized at some point that I'm kinda traumatized of it because Amanda would do a lot of them and she will XMD post stories where she was almost naked, even though I had always told her how uncomfortable that was for me and that it made me feel sad. I do wish to add that my Eileen's TikToks were delusional, like who's is gonna kiss the ugly girl? Oh yes, I'm so happy with my life. I have someone who loves me and I heavily disliked them because it was an attention-seeking behavior of her, or at least I thought. Nothing could have prepared me to discover all this, on top of that at once. I do not know if this has a name but I had like an episode. I went crazy, and not in the sense of screaming, breaking stuff because I hate it, but my head was stormy and I could feel a mixture of disgust, rage, betrayal and contempt all at once. I had to start blasting music in my ears because it was as my flesh, each tissue of mine was twisting and bleeding. I messaged Emily starting a convo and got angry. I have never insulted her, at least in that moment, and I told her that I was disappointed in her, that she, too, would look for attention on there. She told me she would remove everything as she did not want me to hate her. Finally I calmed down. I think I would have probably called her names hadn't I controlled myself. You may ask, why did you have such erection? The moment he posted those my mind saw her as Amanda. She was posting stuff like that? I thought of Amanda, and the thought that I was with someone who even slightly behaved like her almost made me puke. That's why I said betrayal too. I was disappointed because, in my eyes, SHS became like Amanda. My mind thought, was I really in relationship with someone like Amanda? Fast forward, we start talking again. Things are different. I must say that I had told her some days after all this if we could maybe try again. We started talking and we fell back in love. She had finally opened her heart to me and I poured love in it. To me she was pretty, really pretty. All good. Some months later, it's June, we have some time. I start to feel empty. I remember started writing stuff where I'm worried I'll feel empty. But summer started and everything was good. Up until August. She reveals me some stuff, like the past year in the first relationship we would have breakfast together. She told me would eat nothing after that. She has always had problems with food and body image and started fasting and working out a lot before I had met her for the first time. She told me she had an habit of eating candies, snacks and that stuff and could not resist. To me she was pretty and I have to thank her because she bought me a lot of food to eat since I love lifting weights. The guilt after crying remained and she had terrible relationship with food. Still, I always loved her and tried to help her. Now some context stuff before going into the next part. Emily's friends hated me. Moreover, Rose infiltrated Emily's private account and even Amanda's one, so keep that in mind. Rose and I had an argument, but I would not call it that way. I ended up blocking her in middle summer. Now we get to the third part. In August, the first realized that Emily was a really jealous person. She loved me a lot apparently. Once she even cried because she thought I would leave her because she still had TikTok installed. I have to admit I was and realized I tried to manipulate her into deleting it. That was at the start of summer. August comes, my girlfriend is doing nothing to help herself out of her eating disorders. I always hugged her whenever she would. I would console her, but someone else cannot help you if you do not strive to better yourself. I started getting tired again, but a little, and I forgot about it. September comes. I see a post of a girl in my city. She does look like a character in a video game I really like and her whole profile seems interesting. I'll call her Jill. Decide to DM her, and no, I had no romantic intention but pure curiosity. I live in a little city, so it is a rare occasion to get to know someone. We start talking and everything goes fine, school war starting and we all were kind of busy. Fast forward a month later, me and Jill speak a little bit more and I started writing again, main L.Y. poetry, which has now become a part of me. I was inspired by her. I started writing a lot, and I mean really a lot. It was at that time that I realized something. Emily was a good girlfriend, but she was not capable of holding deep conversation, which I deem fulfilling and necessary to everyone once in a while. She had not the ability to do so. Later, in fact, I discovered that she was, to put it in a simple way, stupid. I found myself thinking of Jill more often and we would speak sometime at nights. Now I realize I kinda liked her because she was giving me the intellectual and artistic inspiration which Emily wouldn't have ever been able to give me. So thought I at least. Why didn't you stop talking to her? I wanted to see, probably, if I would have started loving her, if my love for Emily would fade away and that meant she wasn't for me. During summer I recall no deep conversation, but as we were always cuddling I kinda forgot. There were instances where I would try but she had not the ability to go further superficial thoughts. Jill was different. For the first time in a long time I felt connected to someone. I ended up writing her a poem, which to this day is one of my favorites. I felt understood to a deeper level and my interest for her was only growing more and more. At some point we didn't talking for 2 weeks as she was ill and I missed her. After some time I gave her a nickname. My GF didn't mind her at the start, but at some point she would cry if I mentioned Jill to her. I told her it is not healthy to do so and always caressed her and let her cry in my arms. I still loved her a lot. At some time me and Jill decided to hang out and I realized I fell in love with her. I didn't want to be so I told this to Emily immediately, but I felt bad, really bad, because I realized that because during the relationship I didn't want Jill to see us together. This is cheating, and yet I can't seem to feel that much shame. Fast forward some months. Emily has changed, and not for the better. One of her dearest friend reached out to me and told me that in the relationship she had never been herself but the person who I wanted she was. She faked her whole self for months just to be loved by me. I said that that's fucked up and selfish because she used me for my love. Now she is the classic Hello Kitty girl of TikTok who wants an obsessive boyfriend who would for her. She loves stalkers and obsessive guys like Joe Goldberg apparently. She wishes to be a baddie now but whatever, and she has posted a lot of TikToks where she disses me. I might have been a boyfriend at the end, but I genuinely loved her. At least I loved the person she fake. Whatever she is now is an abomination. The poser Hello Kitty obsessed girl with no personality. Since then time has passed and I'm doing really great and managed to solve the episode moments. I'm feeling great, and even if I hated her and I do not anymore, I do not like her, but she is part of my story and it made me into the person I am.